Hey guys, how you doing? My name's Israel. This is my first video on my channel, so I'm hoping that you subscribe. I'm hoping we'll go on a journey together. Sports have been my passion for a very, very long time. I've played sports at high school, university level. Just love talking about sports. I live a very busy life. I must confess, my quote unquote day jobs are quite stressful, and so I just love watching, arguing. Sometimes coaching, and just, yeah, I love sports. I have nothing else to say to that. Four in particular, I play and love many of them, but four in particular. Basketball, what we call football here in the United Kingdom. I'm a Brit, by the way, for those of you over the States. What we call football here, what you guys call soccer, and then what we call American football, which you guys call football, and boxing. And so these are my teams, or my favorite teams so the Lakers in the NBA. I love Man United. It's not been good for us the last few years. And I love the Patriots, and I'm not okay, you could argue I'm a bandwagon Patriot fan, yes, but my bandwagonness stretches back to Tom Brady's first ever season. I just loved him when he took over from Drew Bledsoe. And so, yes, I am a bandwagon Patriot fan, but I was a Patriot fan before the first Super Bowl with Brady. And I've rode shotgun ever since. In boxing, I'm a heavyweight fan. Over the years, my guys have come and gone, but I'm a heavyweight boxing fan. I cover, I watch, I argue about the lower divisions, but I just really love the big boys. When the big boys step up, it's something else. I love knockouts, but I also love great technical boxing. So the first heavyweight era that I really sunk my teeth into was the Tyson, Holyfield, Lewis era. Tyson's rise, Holyfield in the middle, and then Lewis at the end. But they were all peers. I've done my history on the Alis, the Fraziers, the Holmes, all the way back to the Marcianos. Obviously, there's no footage from that era. I just love heavyweight boxing. I love 200-pound and over guys who can move, who can think their way through a fight, who have power, not pitter-patters. But I love guys who are not just brutes. Guys who do the sweet science of the sports well. And so it should be no surprise to you that I just absolutely adore Anthony Joshua. Yes, I am British, but that's not why. We've had several British fighters over the years, including in the heavyweight divisions. And we've got a good crop right now. We've got Tyson Fury and Dylan White, and we've got guys like Dubois who are coming through. But Joshua's my favorite. Why? One, he's a thinking man. And sometimes that works to his disadvantage, as we saw in the Ruiz fight. He thought himself out of that fight, the first fight. He wasn't used to what was going on. Obviously, we've heard from him that he was ill, even though... can I just say this? If you know Andy Ruiz, please, can you find my brother, my Mexican brother? Someone please tell Andy Ruiz for us that, first of all, it's disrespectful to Anthony Joshua, because when he won... he didn't give any excuses. We now know that he was ill. He had to have an operation. I'm hearing that it was a thyroid operation. I'm not sure if that's right or wrong or right. But he didn't make any excuses. He let you bask in your glory. Even when he was asked to be interviewed, he told the interviewer it was your night, right? Even if you're going to give an excuse, can you wait 24 hours first of all? Same thing with David Haye did when he put his toe up on the table after he fought and lost to Klitschko. Vladimir, we don't want to hear that, right? Not in the moment. Secondly, if you won the unified heavyweight title of the world, 3 titles, actually technically 4, but 3 of the major ones, the WBO, the IBF, the WBA, and the IBO. And you had 6 months to prepare to fight the same guy. If you didn't train hard enough, we don't want to hear it. It's disgusting. It's unprofessional. It's disrespectful to Anthony Joshua to take his shine away, because now all the haters are saying the only reason he won was because you weren't in shape. We don't want to hear that, right? You looked okay. You had 4 sparring partners. We saw you sparring. You said you prepared for him. You told us you were ready to chase him around the ring. I didn't see a different Andy Ruiz than who I saw in the first fight. The only difference was he was shy to throw his hands because he kept getting tagged, and we'll talk about that in a second, with right hands. Other than that, don't want to hear it. Go sit down somewhere, like the millennials would say, have several seats. Think about your career and come back and do what we know you can do. But we don't want to hear that. All right, bro. That's it. That's all I have to say about that. Moving on. So like I was saying, my respect for Anthony Joshua grew leaps and bounds. Now, I don't know him personally. I know a couple of people who say they know him, or know people who know him. I'm not about the name dropping business. I'm a little bit older than him. A little bit, in quote. But I learned a lot from Anthony Joshua over the last 6 months. If you want a clinic in how to bounce back from a crisis in life, that young man who's just 30 years old just showed all of us how you handle a setback in life. He was gracious in defeat. He took absolute responsibility, and he did not give an excuse. Andy Ruiz, are you listening? He had valid excuses, health reasons. You're the heavyweight champion of the world, and for 6 months you had the opportunity to train exclusively for this guy, and you want us to believe that it's something to be proud of that you say you weren't in shape. I don't buy that. First of all, I don't buy Andy Ruiz was 283 pounds. I think that was gamesmanship. I think, first of all, he was trying to get an excuse if he lost, but secondly, he was trying to get in AJ's head. I think he probably would have been around 275, 273. Between what he was wearing, his sombrero, which on their own, a sombrero can weigh as much as 5 pounds on its own, even if it wasn't leaded in his, whatever it was, even if he was 283. You just got beat, man. Just accept it. You got beat by the far superior boxer. And let's talk about those who have a problem with his performance. If you just got knocked down 4 times, in fact, let's first talk about those who have a problem with his chin. This is my biggest pet peeve on Twitter and everywhere else. Anthony Joshua has a great chin. Not good, great. And before you tell me I don't know anything about boxing, hear me out. There is this, see, the better a boxer is, right, the more we seem to nitpick their game. Because we're looking for a weakness. If you've ever fought, not just boxing, if you fought before, schoolyard fighting, MMA, I did some Wing Chun training back in the day. My stepdad was a black belt karate master. If you've ever gotten hit in a fight, you understand how it works, right? Your brain and your body can get detached momentarily. That's the chicken leg dance we see. Is literally, for a moment, your nervous system malfunctions, right? Okay. Now, anyone who gets hit is going to have, or gets hit hard enough, is going to have a temporary nervous system malfunction. The difference is how bad is the malfunction and how quickly can you get it under control. The fact that a boxer is hurt when they're punched does not mean they don't have a chin. Like I was arguing with a friend of mine recently, you ask yourself, what would the same punch have done to everyone else? Let's go through all the fights in which he was quote-unquote rocked. Dillian Whyte, second round. He was tagging off on Dillian Whyte. He was having fun with him, and I respect Dillian. Dillian's a great fighter. I think he's at least the 4th or 5th best heavyweight in the world. He got complacent, got cocky, and got caught with the same shot that put Derek Chisora to sleep. Are you all hearing me? And we all believe that Derek Chisora is supposed to be this hard man, this mad hard man, and I agree he is very durable fighter. But Chisora went to sleep when he got caught with the same left hand from Dillian Whyte. Anthony Joshua took it, wobbled for a split second, had the presence of mind to cover up, never got dropped, came back, took a round off to regain his composure, came back and dominate from the 4th round to the 7th. Watch the fight. So he took off the 3rd round to kind of get his bearings back, but he was never hurt in the 3rd. And people talking about the body punches. If you get hit, if someone with what's his name now, with White's power hits you to the body, you will feel it. But he had a second wind, came back and knocked his spark out. Against Klitschko, again, he got cocky, dropped Klitschko, didn't understand that Klitschko wasn't cooked yet, wasn't done. Same mistake he made against Ruiz. The difference with Klitschko and Ruiz was, after Joshua got dropped by Klitschko, he had the sense to stay away from him until he hurt him again. By the time he fought Klitschko, he was still a prospect. So he had a healthy fear. Joshua didn't fear Ruiz at all the first fight. And so he was so sure he was going to get off his bike, or from the floor, get on his bike and knock Ruiz out. And for the next 4 rounds, from the 3rd to the 7th round, he kept trading with Ruiz. Watch. He kept standing and trading. And he only ever got dropped when he would trade. Because if what we heard was true, we've heard now that he had an operation from his own mouth. 6 months later, he didn't give an excuse on the day. And I've heard that it was a thyroid issue. If that's true, that makes perfect sense. And so if you have it'd be like you having a flu and having to have intravenous liquids and getting punched by a guy who is perfectly healthy. If you hit each other with the same punch, one of you is going to go down, and it's going to be the guy who's ill. And Joshua went down 4 times, got up each time, walked each time. His legs looked, I'm not saying they were perfect, but there was no chicken dance after he got up. Had the presence of mind to spit out his gum shield, trying to buy time. Now, obviously, that backfired, and I think he'll learn from that, because he should have been shouting at the ref, telling the ref, I ain't quitting, I'm here. I think the ref just assumed, having gotten knocked down 4 times and knowing that, because we could all tell there was something wrong with him. I think the ref just was trying to spare him dangerous injury, and maybe that's the best never happened to him. But this idea that Joshua ran from Ruiz, let's just put that to bed real quick. I'm going to be done in a second. I got to do some work before I sleep tonight. Got to get ready for church tomorrow. I watched Lennox Lewis's entire career. I watched Evander Holyfield's entire career. I watched Vitaly Klitschko's entire career. None of these 3 guys would you call a runner. In fact, Klitschko is considered one of the toughest heavyweights we ever saw. Go watch Klitschko against Chisora. Vitaly Klitschko against Chisora. Except for the fact that Vitaly is nowhere near as athletic as Joshua. It was a carbon copy fight. Because you don't need to be on the front foot to dominate a fight. People need to understand that. And I don't mean win on points. I don't even mean a shutout. I mean dominate. Only one person was ever going to win that fight. And I don't just mean by accumulating points. Joshua, yes, moved around, and most of the time he was moving laterally. In essence, he was stepping out of range to the sides. For those who say Ruiz should have cut the ring off, did you watch the same fight I did? Lewis tried to cut the ring off, and every time he got tagged. First of all, it wasn't none of the pitter-patter jab that Larry Holmes used to throw, an open slap. Probably the best heavyweight jab of all time. At least top 5 was Larry Holmes. But his jab was a slap. It was designed to distract and disconnect you. Joshua was sending pipes down the pike. Every time that left hand came through, Ruiz's head snapped back. These were hurtful jabs. Secondly, every time Ruiz tried to close the distance with his feet, he ate a spiteful right hand. Did it knock him out? No. Why? Because Joshua never doubled up on it. Because he wasn't going to risk losing the second fight. But we saw that every time, I think Ruiz caught him I counted about four times in that fight, Ruiz caught him flush. And none of those times did he wobble. But he wasn't going to risk that. And so he would bang him with the right hand. The one time he tried to follow up, he noticed Ruiz was still throwing, he backed off. Joshua wasn't running from no one. Between rounds 9 and 11, when we all thought he would gas, he went extra with the dancing around. I noticed for about 3 rounds, 9 to 11. Went extra with the dancing around, and then for the last 15 seconds of the fight, when he knew he'd won by a country mile, and Ruiz was like, come on, come on, fight. I'm thinking, Ruiz, you had 12 rounds with this guy, and in the last 10, 15 seconds, then you're telling him, come and fight. No, he came to fight, and he boxed your head off. He punched you, he hit you, he cut you in the first round, he broke your will, broke your heart. People say, no, he never let his hands go. You can't let your hands go when you're being hurt consistently. And if Joshua had taken one risk in that fight and followed up on any of 3 or 4 times, he literally lifted Ruiz off the floor with his right hand, he'd have knocked him out. And that's why I don't want to see a third fight, except it's for undisputed. If Ruiz goes and beats Wilder and brings the belt back, hey, I'm cool for a third fight. Otherwise, we know what's going to happen. He's going to get knocked out the third time, because now Joshua's found out that he can take his power when he's not ill. And secondly, found out that this guy can't trouble him if he boxes to a game plan. Go watch the first 7 rounds of that fight and the 12th round. Joshua sat, while he was moving, sat down and gave it to Ruiz how he wanted it. This narrative of he was running away, no, he wasn't running away. He was using his feet to get out of Ruiz's way and then spanking him. If you have a problem with that, then throw away your Muhammad Ali fights, throw away your Lennox Lewis fights. In some fights, throw away your Larry Holmes fights. You know, it's not Joshua's fault that he was by far the better guy. It's not his fault that he was by far the more accomplished fighter in 10 years. I'm going to close with this. People need to understand this dude's been fighting for 10 years. 10. He started at 19 and a half. Now he's almost 30, or he's 30, I think he is. Ruiz has been fighting since he was 6. That's 14 years, because he's also 30. Malcolm Glazier, in his book Outliers, I'm going to end with this, some intellectual stimulation for you. Malcolm Glazier, Outliers. He says, you become an expert at something when you've done it over 10 years for 10,000 hours. By that definition, and that includes sparring, fighting. I don't mean fighting in the backyard. I mean organized boxing. You know, hooks, crosses, jabs, rotating your hips. You know, defense, head movement. So fighting with a piece of glass in the side alley doesn't compare to boxing. I mean organized boxing. Joshua's only now done his 10th year. That's scary. And as we saw in 6 months, we saw him add something to his arsenal that we never believed he would be able to do. Can you imagine what he's going to add in the next 5 to 6 months before he fights Pulev and then Usyk? And if I'm Deontay Wilder, I am kicking myself for not accepting 120 million, because that was the worst Joshua's ever going to be pre-Ruiz. If there was a time to beat him, and I don't think Wilder beats Joshua, and I'll tell you why as I close, but if there was a time to beat him, it was then. Now he knows what it feels like to lose. Now he's honed his craft even more. This is what a Wilder fight's going to look like. In the last 10 fights Wilder has had, in fact, in every single title defense, pretty much, maybe I'm missing one. Let me see. Spilker, Washington, Stavern twice, Brazil once, Ortiz twice, Fury. Who am I missing? Duhaupas. Who am I missing? As far as I'm aware, as far as I remember, there was no title defense Wilder has had in which he wasn't outboxed. Except for the first round knockouts, obviously. Brazil and Stavern don't count because you cannot box a person who knocks you out in the first round. But every single title defense he's had that's gone past the second or third round, Ortiz took him to school, man. And Ortiz is 50. He's 50 at least, based on what we know. Just replace Ortiz with Joshua in that Ortiz fight. This is how you know a guy's either old, or I'm not accusing him of throwing the fight. I'm just saying it looks dodgy to me. Because this was the punch that knocked Ortiz out. Up until Ortiz, Wilder's only knockouts had been, Fury, when Fury was just messing around and standing there. But they've been wild, looping, swinging, you know, things that a better fighter would have tagged you for. Against Ortiz, Wilder measured him with a left jab, and Ortiz's head never moved. You know, usually when you get hit with a jab, you move. Or measured, you should move. Ortiz's head was in the exact same spot as when that left jab came out, as it was when the right hand followed. Same thing with Fury, but in Fury's case, Fury was goading him and taunting him. You know, Joshua's not going to do that after losing to Ruiz. But this is how that fight's going to go. Joshua's going to box circles around him for a few rounds. Wilder's, and people make it seem like every time Wilder catches you, you go down. Nope. Even against Ortiz, that wasn't the first time he caught him. Wilder caught Fury more than twice in their fight, clean with the right hand, and none of them dropped him. It's the punches you don't see, usually. The ones that you cannot brace for. And sometimes it's the accumulation of those punches. It's like hitting a brick wall. Over time, when you keep hitting that wall, it could crumble the last time you hit it. But if Joshua avoids being stupid, if Joshua fights the same fight he fought against Ruiz, and people say, oh, well, he's not going to have the reach advantage. He doesn't need to have the reach advantage, because he wasn't just keeping him at bay in terms of reach. He was moving laterally. He wasn't slipping punches the traditional way with his head and his shoulders. He was slipping them with his feet. And no one can tell me that Joshua can't do against Wilder what Ortiz did for 7 rounds. At this stage of the career, and based on what he showed us against Ruiz in the second fight, Joshua is at least as good a boxer, if not better, not a fighter, a boxer, technical boxer, than Ortiz. Can you imagine if any of those shots Ortiz hit Joshua with had been from Wilder with had been from Joshua? Yes, people think Barber sees this guy with huge power. Well, who was he really knocked out? Again, like Wilder, he knocked out several bums. But other than Brian Jennings, and he didn't stop Brian Jennings concussively. He stopped him with a TKO. Other than Brian Jennings, who else has Ortiz stopped that you know their name? And Jennings isn't even in the top 15 in most of the sanctioning bodies. Which credible fighter whose name you can pronounce or remember, other than Brian Jennings on a TKO, has Ortiz stopped? I'll wait. So, if the first 7 rounds of Joshua, and we know Wilder is chinny, Spilker had him going, Duhaupas had him hurt, Ortiz should have finished him in the first fight, right? Brazil rocked him in round 1 of their fight. See, Wilder may not even win the Fury fight. If Fury had any ounce of power, that fight would be a walkover. The only reason why we believe Wilder has a chance to beat Fury is we know he's not going to knock him out. Fury's unlikely to knock him out until Wilder has 12 rounds to try and find an eraser. But if Fury had an eraser of his own, we wouldn't even be calling this fight close. All right? The only person with a chance to beat Joshua is Fury. That's the only person with a chance, in my opinion, to beat Joshua. And based on what we saw against Ruiz, that gap in technical ability is closing real fast. If Joshua gets through Pulev and Usyk, who are going to training for, that's why these guys have played themselves, because they should have fought the guy a year ago. Now he's had 6 months to prepare for Ruiz. We saw a boxing clinic. He's going to have another 6 months to prepare for Pulev, who's an amazing fighter, very technically sound. In my opinion, a better version of Ortiz, in my opinion. And then Usyk, who is an amazing fighter. Usyk is spectacular. If Joshua beats Usyk, I think it becomes clear that his already better resume is spectacularly better. If Joshua comes through Pulev and Usyk, he is going to be 10 times the boxer he is now. At that point, I'm not sure Fury outboxes him for 12 rounds. And again, if Joshua lands him once, that's it. So, just my thoughts. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think. Please like, subscribe. Hopefully we can go on a journey together. Not sure how often I will put out videos, but probably once a week. Boxing, heavyweight boxing, particularly the Lakers or the NBA, the Patriots, and or the NFL. Although I'm really loving Lamar Jackson right now. I just wish I was on draft day. I kept screaming at Belichick when he fell to the end of the first round. So sign or draft Lamar Jackson. Hey, maybe I should be the GM of the Patriots and my Man United team, which is just doing horrible right now. Love you guys. Check it out. Please like, subscribe, share. Take care. I'm out. Bye.